everyone, and thank you all for coming tonight to this exciting event to support Aid L'Shalom. You'll hear about it soon, more about it. Our guest speaker tonight is Gedale Fenster, a world-renowned motivational speaker and coach. And now I want to introduce to you at our Chabad, our esteemed Rabbi Shane.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you can hear me. As you know, we're only left 2 days for the month of Iyar, and the Torah tells us that the month of Iyar is the month of healing. Why is the month of Iyar the month of healing? Because the name Iyar is 4 letters. Aleph is Ani, Yud is Hashem, and Reish is Rofecha. I am Hashem, your healer. But there's a big difference when Hashem heals or when a human being heals. When God heals, there's no side effect. It's a complete healing. But even more than that, when God heals, it's as if there was never an illness to begin with. And that's called preventive medicine. So when we have to deal with healing, there's all types of healing. There's physical, there's mental, there's emotional, spiritual. It's all connected. A healthy soul is a healthy body. A healthy body is a healthy soul. Our main mission, why God gave us the Torah, is to bring the healing before you get into the illness. So you don't have to deal with the illness to begin with. Torah brings the healing to the world. So I think what's important from this organization and from all the organizations, that we have to try to make everything preventive, that we shouldn't have to come on to the illness. It should be preventive healing. There shouldn't be an illness to begin with. And if there is, it should be a cure as if there was never an illness to begin with. Amen. Amen. I would like to call upon all the Rebbitzins that prepared and made this evening so special to come on. We also have the, unfortunately, one of the ones that were killed by October 7th. Father-in-law is going to say Tehillim with us and pray with us. So we want to invite all of you, and please follow the rest of the program. Something very special and unique for everyone here tonight. Thank you.
It's comforting to know that someone really cares about me.
They want the whole family to feel better.
It's hope. It's more hope. I think Eid L'Shalom is very unique, and we must have an organization like that.
The more money we have, the more we can help our patients.
Their heart, their will to help every sick individual deserves the highest amount of donations as Klal Yisrael can get.
If you take the G from Gitti and the D from Devoiri and you put them together, what do you get? That's right, because that's what Gitti and Devoiri do. They are God's messengers to help bring healing and refuah to families, to individuals who need financial help, certain medicines. Aid L'Shalom is their wonderful organization. Aid, A-I-D, L'Shalom. Please check them out. And they are raising funds during this month of Iyar, which is the month of refuah. Please, please help this amazing organization and these two selfless, tireless women, and so they can help others in bringing refuah and simcha and healing. Please check out Aid L'Shalom, and may Hashem bless you. You should only know of brachos and chasodim and never know of any tzar. And Aid L'Shalom is the place to go. And please donate generously. Aid L'Shalom, Zayt's Gebench, and all the very best.
I just want to talk to you about Aid L'Shalom. Aid L'Shalom is basically two unbelievable women, Gitti Klein and Devoiri Neuman. They are two angels that came down to help people who were given a diagnosis that was grim and scary. They help them through the time. They let them know that it's God who has the decision on what's going to happen and when it's going to happen. They help them, yes, with vitamin C treatments and organic food, but the chizuk that these two women give people who are in shock and scared is unbelievable. If you ever met these two women, you'd feel it. Every other word out of their mouth is gebenched and chizuk, and you should be blessed, and Hashem is watching for you, and all of this. Their energy is unbelievable. Help them. Help them help people who need the chizuk, who need the help, and this is the month to do it. Which for them, it's every day, it's every hour. That is how they function. Gedale Fenster is an organization I've been a part of for I think about 5 years, and I'm so honored to tell you about them and help them. Thank you very much.
He was getting a very high dose of chemotherapy, the highest that they had. Seeing her come down from those rounds, I thought I needed to hire a full-time nurse for a year. She couldn't eat. She couldn't even speak. She was white as a ghost. You were able to see dark circles around her eyes.
It made me vomit and I didn't like it. I have to do it.
The chemo, it does its job. We need it to do what it does. But we need something to give her the light and energy to move on with the daily life. We started vitamin C 3 times a week. There was an overnight change.
I feel old and I have so much energy and I get to go to school.
When she was doing the big round, she would stay home for a couple of days, recover, and then bounce right back. Pay the shots and Devoiri, continue doing what you're doing. We'll get you the funds. Nobody's offering what we have here with Nachman. Funds for vitamin C. That's not what insurance pays for. I'm not a doctor, I'm just a mom. But I'm the one watching her every single day. I can tell you what works. I felt like, okay, I'm not alone here.
I want to introduce Boaz Nagar, who's going to read Tehillim 121 and 130 in memory of his daughter-in-law, who was killed in the Nova Festival.
שיר למעלות, תשאינה אל ההרים, מאין יבוא עזרי. עזרי מעם אדוני, עושה שמיים בארץ. אל יתן למות רגליך, אל ינום שומריך. הנה לא ינום ולא יישן, שומר ישראל. אדוני שומריך, אדוני צילך על יד ימיניך. יומם השמש לא יקיקה וירח בלילה. אדוני שמוך מקורא, ישמור את נפשך. אדוני ישמור צאתך ובואך מעתה ועד עולם. שיר המעלות ממעמקים קראתיך אדוני. אדוני שמע בקולי, תהיינה אוזניך קשובות לקול תחנוני. אם עוונות תשמור יה אדוני מי יעמוד. כי עמך סליחה למען תברא. קיוויתי אדוני קיוותה נפשי ולדברו אוכלתי. נפשי לאדוני ושומרים לבוקר, שומרים לבוקר. יחל ישראל אל אדוני, כי עם אדוני החסד והרבה עמו פדות. והוא יפדה את ישראל מכל עוונותיו.
Good evening, everybody. To our wonderful hosts, Rabbi and Rebbetzin Shane, and the shul's president, Michael Young, and his wonderful wife, Gloria. Thank you so much for opening your beautiful shul to us tonight. Our thanks as well to Iris and Alon Avni. Thank you for all the amazing food that you donated to us this evening. So many people worked so hard to make this event a reality. I wish that I could take the time to list them all and thank them here. Please take a moment, look at the invite, and read the list of hostesses that are lined up there. The incredible people on that list have worked tirelessly and arduously to make this evening the success that it Baruch Hashem is. You are our brothers and sisters. I feel like we have all become one big family, Baruch Hashem. I could not love you more because our hearts are swimming in gratitude. May Hashem repay you 1,000-fold. Eid L'Shalom is not a massive organization with many employees, but what we lack in size, we make up in heart. When cancer strikes, the unfortunate patient is forced to fight two battles. One is cancer, and the other one is to fight the side effects of the treatments. Unfortunately, no insurance helps cover the costs of treatments that can alleviate the horrific side effects of chemotherapy and radiation. But they are so important for our patients. Imagine how much more effective a person can fight if they maintain their strength and dignity during all these horrible treatments.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming out again. Thank you. Okay. When my husband Shulam, alav hashalom, of blessed memory, was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, he was given only weeks to live by his doctors. He immediately began searching for adjunct therapy that could help prolong his life. What he discovered was, for price, there were options that could be administered in addition to his chemotherapy protocols. He far outlived the doctor's dire predictions. He lived for almost 3 years, not hospitalized and not bedridden. He lived, during that time, he was able to travel, work, dance at his grandchildren's wedding. He was never hospitalized due to his chemotherapy or radiation treatments. Realizing how important these treatments are, he began helping others he encountered, paying for them to receive the same treatments. His dying wish was that we start an organization that would keep help cancer patients the way he was helping them. After he passed away, many patients he was sponsoring came to the Shiva call and begging us not to stop covering the treatments. We realized that we had to do this, and so therefore a L'Shulam in his memory and bearing his name was created. Thank you.
It is our honor and privilege to introduce a man who needs absolutely no introduction. He is a world-renowned orator and business coach, but most important, even more than what he is a man whose humility and genuine kindness has inspired me more than words can ever say. Without any further ado, Rabbi Gedale Fenster.
Thank you for this opportunity to be here. Gitti Klein once called me, and she says, "What do I do? I'm burnt out." I said, "You're burnt out? You're solar powered. God's giving you the energy." And we spoke a lot of times, and she spoke to me about her organization. Unfortunately, my son died of cancer. And I know what it is to go through this, and I know what it is to rely on doctors, and I know what it is to go through this. And it's, forget about thank God I had the means, but I can't even imagine what people do without the means. I can't even imagine. So the organization you guys are doing, and this is why I came here. Not only did I come here, but I want to pledge also $10,000 to your organization. I said, it's an incredible organization. It's chesed. There's nothing greater than giving. There's two works in our life that we really struggle with in our lives. There's the work of the mind, and there's the work of the heart. The work of the heart is obviously something you guys have mastered. Working of the heart means giving compassion, giving to others, giving the benefit of the doubt to people, which we'll talk a little bit about. Working of the mind is faith. These are the two things that pretty much affect our lives today. If you look at any problem that we've gone through, either we have a problem with faith or we have a problem in relationships. It's these two things. And this is the struggle that we have to go through today. So I think not only is your organization, you've mastered both, because one thing is to give somebody a check, then they have to believe that they could still make it. And that itself is, I can't imagine, just a little bit of an ounce of giving the guy an ounce of energy, acupuncture, any of these things, they make you feel much better. Any little bit just to change state. So your organization has both of these things, and that's why you're an angel, and Devoiri, you're an angel, and Hashem should bless you. That you shouldn't have to have fundraisers. You should have so much money that you should open up in Brazil and other places. So V'ezrat Hashem, that's my blessing to you, that not only doctors should get involved and people should donate their time, and V'ezrat Hashem, your organization should succeed. Amen. So as we're getting closer to Shavuot and we're getting closer to, obviously you could see there's a lot of brokenness. There's a lot of brokenness out there. Dealing with cancer, dealing with October 7th. There's a lot of brokenness. But our job really, really is to create that light in life. And our sages tell us that one of the greatest ways to get light today is by doing things with joy. It's extremely important today. When you see so many things, you can go through routine, and life can become very heavy. Sometimes you don't want to wake up to pray, you don't want to wake up to give, you don't want to deal with this person. But I'm going to explain to you something very important. One of the things that Rabbi Nachman taught me, obviously with the permission of the Rabbi, it's Breslov's speech in the Chabad synagogue, it's brothers and two brothers today, that it's the incredible importance, just like your self-esteem today is based on your opinion. How you value yourself is based on your opinion. The same thing our sages tell us, that how we do mitzvot, how we do them is based on how excited we are, is how much light we get for them. I can give charity, and I can say, here you go. I can get 6 blessings. I can give the guy a kind word, and I can get 17 blessings. So you could see today, I think part of being Shavuot is waking up. Getting this energy of Shavuot that we're dealing with is trying to take the routine things we do, the mitzvot, and doing them with a little bit more passion. And the one thing that I started doing that has been a game changer is celebrating positive acts that I did. Because it's so routine today to go through things and, I didn't do this right, what a burden. But when you start celebrating positive acts you did, celebrating this. Like when you called me, you told me you're burnt out. I said, do you understand how much you've done? So sometimes in life we could stop, we lose so much. We lose so much in relationships because all we're doing is looking at the negativity and we're not celebrating the positive. So that's part of Shavuot, to receive the Torah with, God forbid, depression, to receive the Torah with sadness. It's spirituality really, really is how can I get the most out of this mitzvah? And in heaven, you are paid to the degree that you think what they're worth. It's an incredible concept. That means one guy can do something and he can get five, let's say, 10 times more energy than a person doing the exact same thing. Sometimes synagogues look like morgues. Other places, synagogues look like, they're connected. So it's extremely important, if you're connecting to this light of Shavuot, whatever you do, try to do it with a little bit more emotion. Because what happens is when we do that, we actually get more value and we actually get more energized in what we do. Don't go through things, waiting, an hour and a half on the car ride. These are the things that the frustration. Oh, what an opportunity to go do a mitzvah for this organization. So even we could take the stupidest things in life and turn them into opportunities. And that's one of the things that I recommend, to try to take things up a little bit. Don't just go through prayers routine, say, wow, I just prayed. What an incredible thing. We think it's small. Because obviously we think making money is the key to everything, right? That's the key. Or getting validation is the key. But you're not valuing the things spiritually that are going to make you the most happiest. And I can tell you from my own life, helping people has brought me more happiness than anything. The beginning and the root of all sadness in my life, or any situation that we've all gone through, I run addiction centers and everything, is self-centeredness. So today I'm going to really, really teach you on how to get rid of self-centeredness and recognize that really, really self-centeredness is the biggest tikkun in this generation. If you look at today, there are 4 stages of giving. Giving itself, like Rabbi Nachman says in Lesson 119, that you see this a lot with people tell you, oh, this relationship is toxic, that situation is toxic, everything is toxic. Rabbi Nachman tells us something very incredible. It says this in lesson 119, when a person requires compassion, God sends him compassion so that he can show compassion on others. When Gitti asked me to come here, I'm not doing her a favor, she's doing me a favor. When somebody's asking you for a favor and somebody's asking you for money and somebody's asking you for kindness, in a perfect world, if you knew the greatness of it, you would run after them. You would run after them, chase them to give them the money. In a perfect world. Obviously, we're not in a perfect world. We're thinking, oh, is the guy worth it? How do I know I'm going to make the money? We'll come up with 1,000 excuses. But in a perfect world, Rabbi Nachman tells you that every single time, not only, let's say you have a situation financially or a problematic person in your life, when that person is getting sent to you, so you can have compassion on them, so God can have compassion on you. Do you understand? We think we did this guy a favor. We donated this to organization. We did this. Completely the opposite. It's helping you. You are getting more than the organization is. You are getting more by letting go than that guy by forgiving. You are getting more by forgiving somebody than the person themselves. You understand? We think it's completely the opposite. You understand? We think it's completely the opposite. It's actually completely. Anytime you have problematic people in your life, anytime you have problematic people or situations in your life, the people that bother you, or situations in life that you're like burnt out because they require compassion, that's really for you. That is really for you. That's one of the things that Rabbi Nachman taught me. As our sage says, whoever shows compassion for God's creations, he himself has shown compassion. As it is written, he will give you compassion, and you will be compassionate. So the Torah is basically telling us that any single time in our life, you have to get out of your head. You have to get out of your head. The biggest problems in our life is too much thinking and not enough thanking. Get out of your head. Find the situation in your life, etc., with difficult people, situations, and get out of your head. So opportunities like this get us out of our head. You can't have, how many personal problems can you have, Gitti, at the end of the day? It's not possible. Too busy. It's when we're thinking too much about ourselves is when all the things happen in our lives. And this is exactly what I'm going to teach you guys an incredible concept from the Baal Sulam. But just think of it like this. Forgiveness, all of these things you're giving. The same way as people will tell you, how do you wake up in the morning or so early? How do you give classes so early? It's very simple. When you are waking up whenever you want, you're getting. When you're doing things that's easy in life, all you're doing is getting. When you're breaking your sleep, when you're working out when you don't have to, when you're giving charity when you don't want to, now you're giving. When you're doing difficult things in life, you become a giver. Otherwise, you're a taker. And remember, our happiness today is based on how much we can be as close to our Creator and be like Him as possible. And our Creator is giving. So we're in a world today of, if it's hard, I don't want to do it. It's too tough for me to do it. No, giving means doing difficult things. Just like if you work out, you're giving to your body. Just like if you fast, you're giving to your body. Do you understand? Today you can eat cheesecake. But normally when we're eating the wrong foods, we're getting. We're just getting. So this is where one of the things that you want to transform in your life is start doing difficult things. Because difficult things means giving. Not holding a grudge, not letting go, being in a comfort zone. All you're doing is getting. You're not doing anything. And that's why in life we don't grow. We're not happy because at the end of the day, we're too busy getting. I'm going to wait for that person to apologize to talk to them. You're a taker. I'm going to wait for this situation to get going. You're a taker. And so this is one of the things with Nachman I never understood, that breaking your nature is the greatest form of giving. Breaking your nature is your greatest form of giving. Doing what's comfortable in your life is all you're doing is taking. And after taking, there's not much left. What's left after we take? Nothing. There's nothing left, because what's going to happen is when we become takers in life, all we're doing is it's like a hungry ghost. There's going to be more and more and more things to take. So that's one of the things in our life that we have to transform. I'm going to give you the 4 steps. And remember these 4 steps, because you could look at any situation in your life and you can apply this too. These 4 steps are from the Baal Sulam. And these 4 steps are pretty much how to transform every single problem in your life and why you constantly are getting the same lesson over and over again. You ever think about why we get the same lessons over and over again and they just don't go away? We get relief a little bit and then again the same lesson. When do we break through? Like, for example, let's say a person in recovery is telling me, you know what? I just want to be sober. I can almost guarantee with 99% chance he will relapse. He will relapse. If he's asking me for a spiritual awakening, that's a whole different story. But if you're just asking to block the pain, just be sober, guaranteed relapse in life. Because at the end of the day, you're not transforming. So the 4 steps that we have to go through, and I'm going to give you guys practical examples of these concepts. You can apply this again every area of your life. The first step in life, and also we have to also remember, when we are not given happiness, the reason why we are not given happiness, according to the Baal Sulam, is so we can attain happiness. Do you understand? A negative feeling, a negative emotion is actually a very positive thing because it gets you moving. It gets you moving. The worst thing we could do with a negative emotion is focus on the details and focus on why it's happening to you. That's what we want to cut out, because at the end of the day, all that's going to do is keep you self-centered. So like we just said, that we were created to receive, and we have in our nature, in our lives, receiving. So this is an area, children receive. Children receive, but at the end of the day, sometimes we don't grow up. And if I can ask you today, where most of your sadness is going to come from, it's coming from an expectation you had. I could probably guarantee with 70, 80%. My life should have been here, and I'm here. I should have been married, and I'm here. Some kind of expectation that went sour in our lives. I thought my marriage should have flourished by then. By this age, and this should have happened. Again, we're all human beings, and we've all been stuck. But being stuck itself is teaching us we've got to move. So the first step that we all have, that where most problems happen, is where you are receiving to receive. Receiving to receive. That energy represents any negative emotion, any bad state. This is the expectation mindset. What am I getting out of this guy? What am I getting out of this marriage? You're going to get. That's what you're going to get. What am I getting out of this? I'm not getting what I want out of this. What am I getting out of this business? What am I getting? See the word getting? Self-centered. Getting to get, receiving to receive is the snake consciousness. That's a snake consciousness. So that's the area of your life that you're going to see all the pain in our lives from. It's extremely important that admitting the problem is 90% of the solution. It's very hard to admit, because at the same time we do have to have emunah, and we want to change, but we also have to understand, like we need to tell the Uber, where are you? You know, I'm in Palisades in Jewish Sopranos right now. You know, I'm not in Manhattan. Do you understand? You have to explain where you are in life. You have to explain to where you are. So if I have a self-centeredness issue, if I have an expectation issue, I have to say, I have this issue. Because if you don't admit you have the issue, you can never get to the next stage. The next stage is giving to receive. Okay? The next stage is giving to receive. So that's when you start doing things to avoid pain. This is when you start doing things. I heard there's a segula to make money. Go read Parshat Haman. I heard there's the Tehillim is going to get you, Perek Shira will get you married. Say Perek Shira. Any segula, anything you're doing, I heard you could smoke to get rid of your anxiety. Same thing. It's all giving to receive. All you're doing is your main objective. Avoid pain. That's all I want to do right now. Just get me out of this pain. If you tell me I'm going to have shalom bayit if I take my wife on vacation, but I don't really want to go on vacation. You're giving, but you're giving to receive, but the receiving is really self-centeredness. But it's still better than receiving to receive. So this is a stage that we get to. This is when we do things because we have to do them. And that's what we don't get any light out of them. So anytime you try to change, so for example, let's say you have an anxiety issue, and all of a sudden the anxiety, you're just trying to take medication to block it, or you're trying to just, do yoga, something just to alter the consciousness. Not to say, oh my God, I have anxiety. It's teaching me that I don't believe I can handle problems in my life. It's teaching me that the problems are much bigger than me. I need to get stronger. You're still going to go back to the same problem over and over again. So as long as you are giving to receive, you're going to go back and forth from giving to receive to receiving to receive. So you will not have a breakthrough. I've dealt with enough people in my life, and I could tell you with 100% guarantee why this guy's not changing, why that guy's not changing. Okay, he listens to the classes, so he has something but it's not going through. I often ask people, are you sure it's my podcast you're listening to? Because nothing's going through. If it's not going through, that means the intention is off. The same thing. If you're praying just because your father wants you to pray, it's not going through. If it's not going through, remember, we need to have both the mind and the heart. Then the intention is just to block the pain. The third intention is much, much greater, and that's part of the tikkun that we need to do, and that's giving to give. That's called l'shem shamayim. That's when you're giving charity, when you're not interested. Are you going to get it back? Yes, you're going to get it back. You don't care if you're getting it back, if you're not getting it back. If you're giving, no matter what, you're not interested in the end result. You do it l'shem shamayim. That is really, really the tikkun that we need to get to. That is where spiritual awakening happens. People will often tell you, when somebody's passionate about what they do, they end up being successful regardless. That's when you're getting to that stage of giving to give, where you are in a stage where you're not interested in anything result. You're not interested in any kind of receiving. All you're interested in is giving your best. You pray, you let go, etc. The Gemara says, when a person prays and he has expectation, heaven looks at his prayer to see if it's worth it. They open up his books. So even when we pray, we have to find a way to let go. The fourth stage, which is these two founders right here. These are called channels. Channels. They are no longer part of humans. They are just channels for God. God uses you. That's called receiving to give. That's to a point where you are receiving and God is using you to help other people. You are no longer in the picture anymore. It's called alignment. That is the perfection of the perfection. When God is using you to help others. Let's say, for example, you're successful at something, and then God uses you to help people. God uses you to give charity to this organization. God uses you to help the world. God uses you. It's not even about you. Remember, real blessings, when you get really blessed in life, you recognize that the blessing is not coming because of you, it's coming through you. See the difference? We think the blessing is coming from me. No, it's coming through me, through you. That's right to explain to you. Your solar power, what do you care about? It's not your energy. God could give you the energy. He'll take away the energy in 1 second. It's not, you're at a point where you're already, you're in a place of receiving to give. So this is when we do things, when we are doing mitzvot with simcha, if we are doing practical things with joy. I could put on my tefillin because I'm afraid that if I don't put on my tefillin, I'm going to lose money. I'm still receiving to give. I'm still giving to receive. But when I get to a point where I am putting on my tefillin because I'm so grateful for the opportunity and I'm happy when I do it, I am now giving my Creator pleasure. Do you understand the power? You are now in the fourth level. You are giving the Creator pleasure. There's a law in life called those who are given and are happy with what they're given, they will be given more to give. So if I'm happy with reading a book and getting this knowledge, I'm going to get more things. The minute I disconnect my happiness and I look at it as a burden, no problem, we'll find a different customer. You don't want to give charity? No problem, don't give charity. We'll find somebody else to give charity to. We'll find somebody, we'll make somebody else rich, and that person will give. People have the illusion today that it's their money. That's the biggest illusion that people think. It's God can give it to you, give it to somebody else. You got an opportunity to do this. We have to look at these things as an opportunity to do this. You're looking at it as, I'm doing it based on, you're nothing. When you understand this level, you start trying to, before you do anything, and before any time there's a problem, you ask yourself, what state am I in? If I know what state I'm in, then I can at least fix it. I can change intention. And people, how many times have your spouses say, I'm sorry? That's not a sorry. You didn't mean it. It's not an apology. And this is very similar to Rabbi Rush. When people say thank you for my problems, they're saying thank you because the book 198 Miracles says, say thank you, and you'll get out of this problem. When they start believing that this problem is absolutely for the best, and it's the greatest thing that could happen for them, and they don't care what happens, then the problems go away. See the difference? We need to graduate, and again, we are all guilty of it. We are all human beings. We are all guilty. We're all moody. We all go through things. We all have problematic relationships. We all have difficult people. Bottom line, but the bottom line is you're doing it anyway. That's the whole point. The whole point is you are doing it anyway. Why not have the right attitude? That's my whole point. If I'm going to go exercise, I might as well exercise. If I'm going to go pray, I might as well go all in. Why am I doing things like a ghost in my life? Why am I doing things when I'm not getting any energy out of it? Or I'm not giving energy to my Creator? What am I doing? And I'm just half in. That is what we have to work on today. It's not, the problem is when you start doing things half-assed in life, and nobody's telling you to take on a million things, then you start losing your faith. You start losing the faith to the mitzvot. You start losing your faith in life. And that's when we have a problem. Because when we start losing faith, what do you think replaces faith? Fear. See, in life, energy is either transferred, it doesn't just go away. It's either good energy or negative energy. You just can't sit there with no energy. Something is going to replace it, if you understand that. So this is an area where you have to ask yourself in your marriage, problems that you've had in your marriage. Have I been too much of, am I looking for what's wrong in the relationship, or am I focusing on what's right in the relationship? Did I celebrate all the good things that the person did for me? Or am I just focusing on the Virgo, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong? And the problem is nobody likes takers. Nobody likes takers. Nobody likes people that don't give. They just don't like them. Why? Because they have terrible energy. Because all they're doing, no matter what you give them, they're never happy. So what happens is you start losing your relationship with God, you start losing your relationship with people. Because this is exactly our main job in this world. Before anything else, Rabbi Nachman says, first be happy, then be religious. You believe that? First, focusing on your happiness. Because if you're doing the happiness without the love and light, then at the end of the day, you're just doing it to receive. You're giving to receive. And that is where you see such catastrophes in our lives. That's when you see, God forbid, 24,000 students dying. You see such catastrophes in our lives, not for not observing the Torah. It's not valuing the mitzvot, not valuing what we were doing. If you look at two holidays, this is a prime example of two holidays. Both on Hanukkah, we assimilated, we stopped rededicating ourselves, we became lax with the mezuzot, we became lax with the mikvah. So what happens? They said, you became lax? Don't worry, you're gonna get cut off from it. What happens? Hanukkah came, miracle happened, and what was the purpose of Hanukkah? Rededication. Rededication. Same thing with Purim. The same thing Purim is, we got comfortable, etc. So in life, when we get comfortable, we have problems. There's always this concept in life that God creates evil, and evil creates good. God creates evil, but evil ends up creating good. Because when you recognize that evil gets you to rise up. So this is an area, for prime examples that I'm going to give you guys for this. For example, let's say you have an anxiety problem, and you're just focusing on, why do you have anxiety? We have an anxiety problem because I have outcome obsession, I have self-absorption, I have either thinking about myself, comparing my life to others, or any kind of thing that's bringing you self-centeredness. So what do? You try to take some medication, or you try to do something to block it. You will always be back there. Until you say, I have to start learning bitachon, not to get rid of the anxiety, but to become stronger so I can have a bigger vessel. So I can become stronger for my family, I can be stronger for my life, I can be stronger. Then, when you have bitachon, you make decisions in life. There's no more fear when you have bitachon. You don't know. People who have bitachon, people who have trust in God, they make decisions. People that don't, they're always worried about, is it the right decision? Then, that action, all of a sudden, let's say you work on your bitachon so much, then God uses you as a channel, period. The same thing with anything else. Let's say you want to get married. How many people tell me, I want to get married? I want to get married because I'm so depressed, find me somebody. That's not marriage. You can't go to marriage to take. You got to go to marriage to give. You got to get marriage to give. So let's say you want to get married and you find the segula to get married. But you're doing this, your job, your main intention of getting married is so for you not to be alone anymore. That is not enough to make a marriage work. Your intention has to be, I want to become a giver. I want to become a giver. I want to give to other people. I want to procreate. But if your intention to get married is, I don't want to be single anymore, I don't want people thinking I'm single anymore, you will still continue to have the same problem. Because you're going to go on a date and say, can this person fulfill my needs? Instead of saying, what can I give to this person? What can I give to this person? And once you decide to become a giver, and once you decide to work on your happiness, then you will find somebody. But every single situation in our lives comes down to this problem. Comes down to breaking from receiving, to then giving to receive, to giving to give, and the master level, and this basically is Yud Kei Vav Kei. These are the 4 types. The first type is Hey, the second type is Vav, right? The lowest level is the Hey, Vav, Hey, Yud. Yud is the highest level. And that's why in life we have to work on praying for this. We have to work on praying for this. We have to look at negativity, and we have to completely stop becoming obsessed with getting rid of problems. We're too obsessed with getting rid of headaches. We're not interested in elevating the problems. We're just too emotional. Problems, it's too much for me. I can't deal with it. I can't deal. No, that's not. It's teaching you. Rabbi Sulam tells us, suffering today is teaching you on how much your self-centeredness is today. And again, this is a very hard pill to swallow. I'm not talking about in every single situation, God forbid. There's situations that are out of your control. But the main energy of suffering today, I know this is a hard thing to say, is to teach us how much self-centered we are. And that it's teaching you. So imagine this is why if we're thankful for the suffering, if we're thankful for the pain, at least what does suffering do to us? Think about what suffering does to us. It pierces the ego. When you're suffering through a situation, when you're broken, you can allow light in. But as long as you don't allow that pain to come, and you don't allow that suffering to come, and you don't ask, why are you going through that suffering? You can never get through joy. And that's why first comes brokenness, and then comes joy. we have to be broken to recognize, why am I so self-centered? Why do I have so much expectations? Why can't I just be happy with my husband? Why can't I just be happy with my wife? Why am I comparing my marriage to other people's marriage? And not only what that's going to do is it's going to destroy your marriage. It's going to destroy your marriage because you're never going to be happy. And this is why our sages tell us that joy is the vehicle for the Shekhinah in our lives. But part of your hisbodedut, part of your prayers, part of your working is you have to identify what area in your life. Let's say at work you've mastered this, but you haven't mastered this in your marriage. Or you haven't mastered it with your kid. Right? You want to put your kid in the wrong school because you want people to look, to make you think that, he has no problem even though he needs a different school. You understand? We cover our problems under the rug so people don't look at that we might have issues in our lives. And again, this is tough work. But this is liberating work. The key in life is not to get validated. The key in life is to be to be liberated. You want to be liberated from a situation. You're not interested in the validating for the situation. Anybody have any questions on these concepts? Anybody have any questions on these concepts? Anybody understand these concepts? So there are four concepts. Anybody have any questions on this? Okay, good. Everybody's mastered it. It's great. Baruch Hashem, nobody has any problems. It's great. Again, it's okay to recognize you have, but until you make that flip in life, that is from the ego to the soul. So, a great example of this would be turning expectations turning all your expectations into gratitude. Start celebrating the positivity. And this is exactly what we do. And the same thing when we're getting closer to Shavuot. Whatever you're doing, just think about the intention behind you doing it. Am I doing it because I have to pray? Or am I doing it, do I want to get? Or do I want to connect? Am I doing this am I manipulating the situation for the right intention? And I promise you, if you follow these 4 steps, you will have a yeshuot in any area of your life. But if you're just asking to be sober, if you're just asking for the problem to end, you're basically asking for repetition of the problem over and over again. It's only when we ask for a spiritual awakening, and that is what giving to give is. Giving to give is a spiritual awakening. So may Hashem bless us all, that we should all merit to become receivers to give. And we should all be channels for the divine, and we should all, God willing, be able to help this organization, and God bless everybody. No problem. Let me tell the story what happened. So basically, I was in Israel. Right before Pastor, I was in Israel. Okay, and all of a sudden, every single day I pray at the kotel, and there was a specific guy that came up to me. And he says, Gedale, have breakfast with me. I put out a breakfast. I said, I'm a hotel guy. I like to have breakfast in the hotel. So the next day he tells me, come have breakfast with me. Do me a favor. I'm a hotel guy. I don't do these things. I do a lot of things, but I don't do everything. So the guy keeps on, every day I'm there for 8 days, keeps on telling me about this. I have to talk to you. Okay. You come to my hotel and we'll eat breakfast. So all of a sudden I invite him to the hotel to eat breakfast. And basically this guy, he gave a beautiful story how he unfortunately lost everything he had in New York. Something about the government seizing his assets. Now we can believe these things, obviously, with what we got going on. Before you had said the guy's a mishuga. But now, yes, his government seizes his assets. God forbid, he was in a very tremendous depression. And basically he told God, either you take my life or you do something with me. So basically he had an idea to go to Eretz Yisrael, and what happens is he went to Eretz Yisrael and he started, in the kotel, he started providing breakfast for people that pray there. Thursdays and Fridays, what he does is he provides breakfast, and everybody goes there, and people talk to each other, they get along with each other, and it's a tremendous Kiddush Hashem. So basically, he tells me what happens, and he started doing that, and obviously I saw, because there was thousands of people, what he did. So he says, listen, Gedale, I got to tell you a tremendous story. On Rosh Hashanah this year, my organization really grew. And I was asking one of the suppliers, which is like a kind of osem. I asked him, do me a favor, I don't need charity, I don't need a discount. I needed you to give me a big donation. So all of a sudden, the guy's not religious, very secular, and he says, you know what? I'm going to give you a huge donation. I'm in a good mood. It was right before Rosh Hashanah. He gave the guy a $300,000-$400,000 donation of all kinds of food for the holidays, etc. All of a sudden, October 8th happens. October 7th was but October 8th, he gets a call from this, and he says, you wouldn't know what happened. My daughter was in the Nova Festival, and she survived. She survived. I happened to buy her a Jeep. This is the Jeep that he bought her. Okay? He bought her a Jeep with an Israeli plate, right? This is, I think she took a picture in the festival. And all of a sudden, there was a miracle that she said, that all of a sudden, once we found out what happened, we ran to the car, and I took 14 people with me. We ran out of the car. And what happens? The plate fell off. And you know what happened? Hamas thought it was one of the cars. Hamas thought it was one of the terrorists. They thought it was one of the Hamas cars. And the car, he showed me the pictures. And the car passed through. 14 people were saved. On Rosh Hashanah, when they ask you, death and life are by the hands. This guy gave a $300,000 donation. His daughter and 14 people were saved. The car is there. It's the same car. The difference is the license plate fell off. A miracle. And saved their lives. So you could see the power. This is the story he told me. And he showed me the pictures and everything. This is the car before, the license plate's off, this is passing Hamas. So you could see the power of charity, guys. You could see charity is not for him. Charity is it's not for the organization. He was doing him a favor. So this is another concept in life where charity is really giving us a favor. We're not doing anything. We're getting the favor. What's your question?
So the problem involves another person, and you want to solve it using your method that you just described. How do you bring the person?
The only thing when you're dealing with people, you can't change them, you can only pray for them. Rabbi Nachman tells us that if we judge somebody favorably and we pray for them, it's like giving them. That means praying for somebody, Rabbi Nachman says, it's like giving them. It's like physically giving them something, giving them positive energy. So when you're dealing with people you can't control, don't attempt to do something. First, you have to focus on praying for them, seeing that you have good intentions, and then possibly do it. Possibly do it. But that's this is exactly why we have so many differences. Nobody marries the same spouse. Everybody's on a different level. And today you see that's the number one question. What do I do when my spouse is on one level and I'm on a different level? It's an opportunity for you to pray. It's an opportunity to get closer to God. How many times do we get that answer? How come this is the new question of the year? It's because people that are more spiritual should be not judging more. They should be elevating more. This is the same thing with Israel. People who are not really, they're supposed to be praying for them. So this is an area. Don't force your thing on people. Elevate them. Elevate them through prayers. Rabbi Rush said, in my marriage, I never asked my wife one thing. If I had an issue, if I had a problem with her, I spoke to God about it. And then he fixed it. He fixed it. He fixed it. He fixed it. He didn't do nothing. Again, we're humans, but at least when you're trying to do something, nobody's listening to you, it's change the strategy. Change the strategy. People don't want to be forced into things in life. And especially if people are not connected, they don't want to be told they're not connected. So that's definitely not going to work. It's definitely not going to work. Telling people you're not this enough, you're not this enough, you're not that enough. Okay, I already feel bad about myself in the first place. Now you're going to remind me I feel worse about myself? So that's why it doesn't work. Doesn't work. You have to. The tikkun today is to lift people out of the table. That's what Chabad does the best. You can see Chabad is outgrowing Starbucks, outgrowing everything. It's outgrowing the S&P 500, everything. Chabad. It's because there's no judgment. There's no judgment. What do you want me to tell you? It works. Warmth and no judgment. That's a strategy.
So what if you were a giver, but through different circumstances, your ability to give was taken away, and you feel defeated?
It's not possible. If you feel like you've given, that means you'd still had giving to receive. You can't be burnt out if you're giving to give because there's no expectation. If I'm burnt out after the experience, I'm not giving. I'm still have a form of expectation that didn't connect. So it was not giving to give. You were still giving to receive. And by the way, this is the primary work today. This is the work today that we all have to work on. The primary work today is to get out of receiving to receiving, because this is exactly how we were made, and we have to transform from receivers to givers. Giving somebody attention, forgiving, giving the benefit of the doubt. These are all forms of giving. And remember, we often judge people the way we feel about ourselves. Anyway, so this is why if we're having a lot of problems with people, in heaven they tell us you're also having problems on high. Gemara says if you have problems below, you have problems above. It's because you're not seeing it right. But anytime you're burnt out, anytime you feel like you haven't gotten return, your intention was still off. It was still in the second level. You need to get to the third level.
Okay. Are there indicators of being on that fourth level? How do you know when you're a channel, when Hashem is using you as a channel?
Basically, when you're getting put in situations that you don't even ask for them. They just come to you. You start attracting things in your life. You become a channel when you start attracting things. When you're in the second level, you're still chasing things. When things just come to you, opportunities come to you, then you are the channel. You are the channel for the light. And that's really the key to everything. Because by the way, when you're a channel for the light, there is no limit. There's no limit because everything you do is you're making your Creator happy. It's all about making your Creator happy. All about elevating His malchus, which is exactly the energy we're dealing with this week. His kingship. You're becoming your best version of itself.
How do boundaries come into play when it comes to giving?
Right. Again, giving to giving, if I'm dealing with problematic people, it doesn't mean I'm going to go be best friends with them. I'll pray for that person. I'll recognize that problem has, the purpose of a boundary is gevura, right? You need a boundary not for them, for you. You understand? So it allows you to still give to them by putting a boundary. Sometimes giving is putting a boundary. For example, you're giving to your body when you eat less, not when you eat more. So boundary is actually gevura. That's also a form of giving. If the giving is causing growth, it's a give. You're giving with the right intentions. If the giving is causing a form of emotional blackmail, that is not giving. Do you understand? That's Moroccan style, but whatever.
Person, average person can take to try and overcome the day-to-day stressors and anxiety and everything that.
Right. So the first step is to recognize that most of your anxieties are all self-centeredness. You get me? If you recognize what's the source of your anxieties, could be I'm not successful yet, I'm not married yet, I'm watching other people be successful, I'm other people. So that's social comparison. So you have to acknowledge the issue of being self-centered. Again, this is not easy to say. It's very tough to swallow to say, you know what? I understand why this marriage is not working. It's because I'm too focused on myself. See, the problem today is we want to be married and we also want to be single. You get me? So we have a very confused vessel. The vessel's not 100% whole. Everybody's walking around with a little bit, with 75%, 25% out, 75% in. And that's another reason why we are not getting results. We only get results when we go all in. So for example, what would I do do something that's difficult for you? That's the first place I would start. Start doing things that you normally won't do. If it's hard for you to wake up, start waking up early. Go against your nature, and that will teach you that you're strong enough to deal with these challenges. That's the practical that I would start doing things that are against your nature. Start giving against your nature. Give a lot of money if you're Persian. You get me? Okay, that's it. Persian and Moroccan jokes, that's it. No more jokes. Okay. So that the whole tikkun is to rise above the ego, which is done through these things.
When you give to give,
Yes.
but it also gives you a feeling of happiness.
Correct.
You're not giving tzedakah to get money. You're giving tzedakah because it makes you feel good. That's not giving to receive.
If it's enough that you got to that level, it would be enough. You're allowed to be happy. I'm allowed to go be happy if I did a difficult thing and I accomplished something. I'm allowed to be happy. You're allowed to be happy if you succeeded in something. Happiness is a good sign.
When you love somebody and that fills your cup, that's giving to give.
Absolutely, because you're looking at the good points in the person. You're looking. Every marriage, every situation has plenty of things that you could be upset about. But the fact that you chose not to focus on that and to break your nature of resentment and focus on positivity, that is giving.
But that is your nature. That's what fills you
Then
up.
God bless you. Go on the board. Put it on the board. If that's your nature, God bless you. God bless you. You'll have other problems in other areas. Don't worry. That could be the problem in that, but don't worry. There's always baggage in the trunk somewhere else. No, some people are givers in general, but they have other issues in the past. Maybe a little victim mentality, etc. before.
I wanted to ask you, when, I hope it's not too personal, but when you went through the situation with your son,
Yes.
and he was sick and he was nifter, how did you apply, you're so worked on, how did you apply all of this to that whole situation?
It took me a long time to get there, but I recognized at the end that God gave me a gift of a child for 15 years to handle, and he chose me to do it. But to get to that level, you need to do a lot of inner work. And of course, I was learning Rabbi Nachman's teachings for 30 years, and I was learning a lot of teachings on every single tzaddik has lost children. Every rabbi, Rabbi Nachman lost 6 children, 4 children. Rav Kook, there's no situation that there's no. So a lot of this gave me a lot of comfort.
Would you say that you had moments of depression? Like, were you above?
It was grief and letting go. A lot of grief and letting go. And recognizing that if I did every single possible thing, possibly to do what I can, and the rest I recognize sometimes in heaven, there's a decree. There's a decree sometimes in heaven that the child has to come back for a certain amount of years. Learning about Gilgulim and reincarnations also helped a lot. But some children come for 2 years. Some children come from, rabbis died at 33. Rabbi Nachman died at 39, 38. So there's different tikkunim. It's a very lofty subject, but the inner work helped me get through it. And the most important thing is my child would want me to be happy, not be depressed. So that's another thing that I knew he would want. How do you deal with perfectionism and giving? You mean you're giving too much? It's not perfect?
Right, feeling that it needs, in order for it to be worthy of giving, it needs to be perfect.
Right, so anything with perfectionism is fear-based. If you have a fear of not being good enough. So make sure it's a little broken, what you do. Crack it on purpose. Wait until life comes and you'll recognize we're all broken. That's where the light comes in life. You could see this event. There's joy, there's sadness, there's joy. This is our life. This is our life.
Go from like one stage to the next stage of like giving, like going from giving to receive to the next stage. Like, what's a way that can help you get there?
Right. You usually give practical ways to do prayer, and most importantly, intention. What is your intention behind this? What is my intention when I pray? What is my intention when I'm dealing with my spouse? Am I present in my relationship? The main point of this is I want you to look at problems as to show you that this is an area where this is running your life. It's receiving to receive. Once you acknowledge this issue, like the Baal Shem Tov says, there's 3 issues in our lives, 3 things to overcome an issue, right? There's the first one is you have to admit it, right? You have submission. You have to admit the problem. The second one is havdalah, separate it, separate yourself from the problem. Like you're better than the problem. And the third one is to sweeten it. It's to sweeten it. So practical tools is noticing intention and prayer. Noticing intention and prayer. What happens when you change your intention? Do you feel better? Let's say I want to work out. And I want to work out because I want to take a picture on Instagram and take a photo. I'm still receiving to give. You know, I'm still doing to get to receive. But if I'm doing it because I want to wake up in the morning and I want to be strong and I need to be available with energy, my intention will give me much more energy. You understand? You don't compare your life to others when you're in giving to give. You're comparing your life to others when you're receiving to give. Because all your intention really is to receive, giving to receive. You understand? That's when when you recognize you couldn't care less, you're not jealous of anybody, you've mastered giving. If you're still doing things because you want to catch up to somebody, then you're still in the receiving, giving to receive. This is new information I got in Israel. These teachings, believe me, there were new teachings I never heard of them before, and they really, 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 it's the snake consciousness that we have to work on. And I've recognized every single issue in my life became from an expectation, receiving to receive. Even when I started praying at a certain hour, I was like, okay, started praying, and nothing happened. No FedEx packages. Nothing was changing. Things were getting worse. It's because I was recognizing I was doing it just because I wanted to change get rid of the pain. I wasn't doing it to connect. I wasn't doing it to get closer to God. The intention was get me out of this problem, whatever I got to do. It was not to get closer to God. So that is the major, major shift. When you say, I want to do this to get closer to God, not because I need or get, etc., etc. Yes. God fills them up. God gives you the energy. Do you understand? God just gives it to you. It's nothing you can explain. You will never explain this.
What a healthy relationship is a give and take.
But no, giving and take, that means, yes, you're giving, but when you're not getting, you're recalling the times that you were given. Do you understand? It doesn't mean it's going to be 100% smooth. It's going to be, but you remind yourself, hey, this person has given me for 5 years. This person has given me for 7 years. He's having a bad week. He's having a bad month. You don't want to throw out, all of a sudden you stop getting, all of a sudden you're throwing it in his face. When you're throwing it in his face, the one time he doesn't give you, then you're ungrateful. And that is the biggest problem that we have, is again, ingratitude. Our sages tell us that the reason for the prolonged exile that we go through is not because God wants to make you suffer, it's because God wants you to look at why you are suffering. Why are you suffering so much? God is on your side, but He cannot give you more if you're in the wrong state of receiving. He cannot give you more because it would actually enable you become more depressed. There's actually kindness that sometimes things are taken away from you. Because if it wasn't things are not, if you don't have a lack, you'll never have a desire to change. So the lack is actually great. Otherwise, you'll never have a desire to change. So the lack itself is actually an opportunity. And the greater the desire, the greater the lack. The greater the lack, the greater the desire. That is the purpose of it. That is the purpose of it. But this should be the main thing you should be thinking about, by the way. If this is not the basic intention, if this is not what you're focusing on, if you want to fix a marriage, if you want to get married, if this is not what you're focusing on, you need more and more dates, more and more things. No, it's not. You don't need more. You need to change intention. You need to change intention. It's not the problem. It's not more. It's the intention behind it. If your intentions or forgetting is based on fear, you're not going to get it. You know why? Because actually, on a conscious level, wanting blocks receiving. On a conscious level, wanting actually blocks receiving, by the way. For example, the more you want to be liked, the less you will be liked. Our sages told us many times, the one who runs after kavod, everybody will run after him. He'll never run out. He'll just keep on running out. He'll never get it. But one who runs away from kavod, kavod comes to you. So it's actually the receiving is blocking you from getting. So if you think about it, it's not working that way, either way. So you're going to tell me, why? I got to put so much work? I got to put so much work on this self-work? Yes, now things will come to you. Before, you're running after them, and you keep on running after them. The more you run after them, they run after you more and more. It's not easy work, but it's the most important work for this generation. And it's a tikkun for this generation. Because you could see a lot of people, there's just a lot of sadness and depression today. A lot of anxiety and depression, sadness. And it's all self-centered, and majority is self-centeredness. Majority is self-centeredness. And that's the problem. And there's no work being done. They're just blaming the Creator. The number one principle in Kabbalah is the following. The light of the Creator never changes. The light of God is always shining. It's the vessel that's not receiving. It's never the light. The light is always shining. When I have a good day or a bad day, it has nothing to do with God. It has nothing to do with God. It's me connecting to God. But God gave me the opportunity to have a good day. It has nothing to do with God. It has to do with you. God do not change. It's a famous pasuk in Malachi. So when we understand that, wow, the light is always shining. It's nothing to do with the light. It's me that has to do the work. It's me that has to do the work. And that's where you have to take responsibility. Part of the sephira of Malchut is responsibility. Got to take ownership of what's going wrong, and you got to work on it. And I promise you, when you recognize, let's say there's an area of your life that you can't stop receiving, and you can't get it out of your mind, then you have to beg your Creator to help you. That means either you're trying to do it yourself, and that's not working, or you're begging God to help you do it. There's no such thing as no answer. It's either A or B. Either I'm successful at it, or I'm praying and desiring to get to this level. Sometimes not having is greater than having. Because as long as you don't have it, God has you praying. He's got you alive. He's got desire out of you. That could be greater than not having it sometimes. Also, Rabbi Nachman says that. Also, Rabbi Shul. That's why thanking for the not having also. It's completely counterintuitive to what you are taught today. And unfortunately, you can go through schools, we can go through shuls, and these concepts never come out. Nobody tells you these concepts. And you're like, well, what's going on here? Nobody tells you these concepts in life. What do you think you're doing in life when you break your reality of your rational mind? All of a sudden you start becoming positive for no reason. What do you think that is? You're giving. Faith is giving. You're breaking your nature of control and rationalism. You're giving. So all of these forms are giving. This is what we get rewarded when we give. When you have emunah, you become a giver. When you don't have emunah, then you're stuck on you lose potential in life. You lose potential in life. It's work. It's a lot of work. And that's why you have to wake up early. You have to identify the issues in your life. You have to identify the areas in your life. But I promise you, this work is the most rewarding and the most effective work. Teshuvah is not just fixing something wrong. Teshuvah is recalibrating consciousness, coming back completely like a different person. That is called teshuvah. If I do teshuvah for my marriage, I'm saying, okay, I'm going to be nice. I'm going to pay attention to my wife. I'm going to be more present. I'm going to play with the kids, and that will make her happy. Okay, that's a small level of teshuvah. But if I say I want to become the greatest husband, that's real teshuvah. See the difference? If you just say, I want to do this, again, I'm not saying that. I'm just for closure. I'm just saying the intention should be, I want to become the greatest husband. And greatest husbands do this. Versus, I want to do this to get out of trouble. We are just in get me out of the trouble mindset. Get me out of the trouble. I don't want this shalom bayit headache anymore. I can't deal with this problem anymore. I can't deal with this person. Get me out. I'm just telling you that's where we're at, and it's not working. If anybody has gotten there, can simply tell you honestly that has not worked, and you know it's not worked. So you have to go above it. You have to go above it. God, you have to go the concept of 13 attributes of mercy above it. 13 is above it. Mercy is above it. Higher level of mercy is above it, etc. Any more questions? Yes.
It just doesn't seem so intuitive yet. Why is Emunah Bitachon giving? Why is what?
Sure. Okay, because let's say bitachon itself is a product of making a decision, correct? When I have bitachon, the first thing I do, I make decisions. Do you know how hard it is for people to make decisions today? You know what that is? You know how hard it is to do that? To just make a decision? You know how people are stuck in their heads for years? When you're making a decision, you're starving fear. Fear is taking. Fear is control. Fear is, what are people going to think about me if I make the wrong decision? So when you make a decision, you are actually giving. When you have faith, you're being, let's say a cancer victim, all of a sudden is happy and celebrating a cheesecake party for no reason. Just because they believe so much in the Yeshua, they are giving. They're giving their creator light. Because all of a sudden, they're in a very dark situation. And they all of a sudden decide to be positive in a very dark situation. What do you think we did when we have October 7th and we had people united? You know, we had people united for about 2 weeks. And then reality came. But 2 weeks, we all broke our nature. Right? 2 weeks, across the board, everybody broke their nature. Lasted 2 weeks. Now, back to the same garbage again. Back to the same garbage. Back to the protests, back to the hating, back to the this, back to the egos. We got a taste of it, though. You got a taste of it. Now, back to the politics, back to the garbage. I'm just telling you, back to baseline life. So if you don't do this work, you just go back to baseline. You get the baseline in life. You get the baseline. It's not, I can't do nothing. You have to work on it. And that is the most rewarding work. Because when you can go do something and you don't need a reward for it, you're free. You're free. You're not a hostage to rewards anymore. But every single time you do something, you're waiting for a reward, you're not free. And then you get frustrated that you didn't get, so you're not going to do it again. You won't try something else. Believe me, something I know is I know patterns. And this is an area where we have to transcend. We'll take a few more questions. Yes. How are you? Questions are good. That means you're thinking.
Actually, I don't have a question. I wanted to thank you. I am so grateful to you, Gedale.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure.
You have literally transformed my life, you and Rabbi Arush, with your books. And I want to tell you that please keep on spreading the light.
Amen.
We're here, we're listening, we're implementing, we're trying to change our lives. And I just wanted to tell you I'm so grateful.
Thank you so much.
Everything, my mindset, the way I think, has completely changed thanks to all the shiurim that you're doing. And everything I see is miracles upon miracles. Even being here, talking, is all miracles. And I thank you for this.
Amazing.
Thank you so much.
Amazing. Baruch Hashem. That's the light of Rabbi Nachman, Rabbi Rush. I'm just changing the language for you guys. But there's no greater light. The Rabbi Nachman's Torah comes from the light of Pele, which is Keter. There's no greater light than this. There's no greater light than the light of Rabbi Nachman. This is why people who are connected to Rabbi Nachman, they're always going up and down. They're always crashing. They're going up, but they're always crashing. It's because if you're going up and crashing, that means you're running to the light. Otherwise, you don't go anywhere. You stay on the hub lane. But if you're running and crashing, that means you're running to the right area in life. A crash is a great thing because it teaches you that you at least you got out of your comfort zone. It's good to crash sometimes.
At least 5 what's up chats that focus on your words every day. So my question is, what is your advice for all the young people that are dealing with anxiety and depression right now, and how to parent them?
It's same thing. It's the same issue. You got to teach them to stop thinking. Stop thinking so much of yourself. Start taking action. You understand? Thinking is self-centered all day long. Thinking is almighty. There's just two in their heads. We're born to worry. We're born to think just about too much of ourselves. This is nature. Rabbi, the Baal Sulam is telling you that this is in your DNA. Do you understand? This is in your DNA. You have to get out of it. As a child, a toy breaks, you're upset. So Up to 20, you have to build your ego. After 20, you have to get rid of your ego. So up to 20, good. After 20, you need to become a nobody instead of trying to become a somebody. You understand? Be less self-centered. Because you can't give if you're all about you. Yes.
Following up on the last two people, I as well am a very big fan of yours.
Baruch Hashem.
I've been listening to you daily, and it's been very, very powerful. So I had a two-part question about the ego.
Yeah.
The first part was, how can one be better about differentiating their true self and their ego self during the challenging moments of life when the time for mindfulness is limited? Work, life, answers are needed, etc., pressure. The second question about the ego is, how could one better attack a negative ego, the bad ego? How to break that? Tips, tricks that I haven't yet heard from you.
Well, the first one is basically if you don't have enough time for mindfulness.
Well, not that, but rather in the moment of intense moments, work.
We meditate in life to get good at life, not to get good at meditation. Do you understand? You're meditating to get good at life, not to get good at meditation. Who cares if you could do transcendental meditation, box breathing? What's the difference? I'll put you in a box. You're doing this to get good at life. So the first thing is, like Rabbi Nachman says many times, you have to sharpen the saw. If you're cutting the tree with a dull knife and it's taking you 3 hours to do it, you need to sharpen the knife. When you sharpen the knife, it takes you 5 minutes. So it's a lot of times your energy is being misplaced. So that's the first thing. Misplaced of energy. And the second, the major point of the ego is focusing on what am I going to look like instead of what do I need to do. We end up going out with the wrong people in life because it looks good, but it is not good. We end up making decisions based on external validation versus internal authenticity. So that's pretty much the answer. If you know you're going to go out with this girl, there's no way you're going to get married. Then you're just feeding your ego. But if you know that you're going to take more time and get a girl that's more marriage-minded, then now you're connected to your soul. So one is too much on outward, and the other one's focused on inner authenticity.
The first, when you say pray, you meaning pray the Siddur pray?
Both. It could be Siddur and his Bodedut, talking to God.
Second, when you say, if you have bitachon, you make your decision. Where is the Yetzer Hara comes?
The Yetzer Hara comes, you're asking where's the Yetzer Hara? When does it come?
Yeah, because the Yetzer Hara exists.
Correct, of course.
You have to make a decision. How do you know this is coming from the place of extreme bitachon, or is not the Yetzer Hara the case?
The Yetzer Hara is making you make a decision?
Yes, like why you have a doubt?
Usually the Yetzer Hara is focusing on not making you the decision. The job of the Yetzer Hara is usually to procrastinate, not to make your decision. Once you make a decision, it's good, because at least one way or another you're going to win or you're going to learn. Not making a decision is all fear-based. Because either way, when you make a decision, you're still going to... You could say, I made a decision to get married, but you have millions of work to do. It doesn't mean because you got married, the problem's solved. The problem just began. Do you understand? The work just began. It's not because I picked my soulmate, that's it. I'm good, lucky, I hit 1 out of 10, and that's it, I'm good. No, that's the person you're going to grow with, but that doesn't mean the problem is there's no challenges. Successful people spend more time taking action, learning, taking action, learning, taking action. Unsuccessful people, they spend too much time thinking about taking action. So what you need to focus on is the journey and the way. So I take action right away, and sometimes it's the wrong decision, but it's never the wrong decision because it's a decision that I need to learn. But indecision is the worst thing, because indecision, nothing happens in life. You understand? So the fact that you're making a decision is a sign that you have trust in God. We'll take 2 or 3 more, and we're good. People, too many calories at night to eat at 9:30. Okay, go ahead.
There are medications now that can help reduce anxiety.
anxiety and depression very easily, and they don't have many side effects. They just sort of make all this work a lot easier. What is your opinion about it?
There's no problem if your intention is to take the anxiety medication, and at least you're taking massive action spiritually to become a stronger person, and acknowledge that this anxiety is not just to get rid of the pain, but these anxieties to let you, the medications get you to think and maybe just process, and then it's okay. But if it's doing it to just get rid of the anxiety, it's not gonna, you could be on it for 20 years. So that's a problem. If there's no therapy of growth, you'll never get a Yeshua in life because you're still doing it to receive. All you're doing is to block pain. Block pain is ego. It's nothing to do with growth or anything else.
You said before that you shouldn't ask how do you get rid of the problem, but you should ask how do I get a spiritual awakening. So how do I get a spiritual awakening?
What area do you have a problem in?
Just generally, like getting closer to Hashem.
Okay, so take the pain in your life and don't, like, again, the important thing is recognizing that you're doing something that you're avoiding. Spiritual awakenings don't happen because there's an avoidant issue. You're avoiding this issue. You're avoiding crossing this bridge. Cross the bridge. Cross what's difficult for you. Again, like we said it many times, when you do things that are very difficult for you, you are now giving. When you do things that are easy for you, you are only taking. You're doing nobody a favor in life, just yourself. You get it? It's when you're breaking your nature, and remember, the gift of going through pain is what? Is the gift of pain is what? Growth. The gift of growth is giving. The gift of giving is purpose. So sometimes not facing pain will unfortunately destroy the purpose also. One more question. Yes. Last one. Right. His bodhidut is basically coming to God with these issues. God, I feel depressed. I feel anxious. I have these major issues. But I have so much expectations of my husband that he should have been this. I'm not being treated right here. I'm not talking about everything that's on your heart. And talking about how some of these things could be self-centered. And basically talking about everything that's going on in your life. And talking about it, being grateful, but more importantly is discussing it like you would be discussing a therapist. The purpose of his bodhidut is to connect you to God. So sometimes God, I have many classes on that. It's tough to do this in 2 minutes. But the issue that you're going through, there's a great line that by Rav Yitzhak Hunter. It says, prayer doesn't get you out of trouble. Trouble gets you into prayer. You understand? Trouble gets you into prayer. So you have to think of this trouble in your life, that if it wasn't for the trouble, you would not be praying. But praying itself is the highest level of connection. So when you start thinking, oh my God, the problem got me to pray, who cares about the who cares about the details? Who cares about the essence? The whole purpose is it got me to connect it. Then the issues usually go away or they don't bother you as much. Got it? Good? Guys, God bless. Thank you.
Reb Gedale, I don't possess the right words to thank you both for your generous donation and for your speech, which was stupendous, really stupendous. Everyone should please join us for cheesecake and wine.